I way, passing my way. This kind of body done they cause it migraine.
No, they count me, please. Please. I will choose my own time. Please consider.
Yeah, go. So Wizkid dropped a new one. More Love, Less Ego.
More Love, Less Ego. Agro-beats.
Yes, that's a new one.
You should put it on this Wikipedia.
Yeah, they say the beat grows on you. That's the new Agro-beat. It grows on you.
Not really. That's the PG-13 version. The actual version is Lamba Life Police, like sex talk. Baba just won't knock everybody.
Yeah, man.
Shout out to Wiz, man.
Yeah, shout out to Wiz. So what do you think Wizkid was trying to achieve on More Love, Less Ego?
That's number one. You know that Made in Lagos was, there's no way we can judge this album on its own individually without talking about Made in Lagos. It's just the way of the world and it's just standard of music. And it's also very difficult, especially when someone has succeeded with quote unquote the perfection of a sound. So you can't judge this album in isolation because a lot of this, the technique, the flows, the approach to beats, even the producers from this album, a lot of them were very prevalent on Made in Lagos, which was like the perfection of the sound that he found on Sounds from the Other Side. But this album is a little more like Sounds from the Other Side than Made in Lagos.
Why? What was that?
That's a good question. Made in Lagos was more R&B, essentially, by style. Made in Lagos, even though it leaned towards pop, the fundamental formation of the songs were very R&B, with a lot of essence from palm wine music, like sounds that SDC pioneered, which I think they should have featured on that album, and High Life, and Afrobeat. But this album is a lot more pop, less R&B. It's a lot less R&B than Made in Lagos was, with a lot more amapiano log drum effects, which shows that Wizkid has a lot more. He's trying to. One of the best things about Wizkid is he always knows what's going on in the soundscape. He understands what's going on. The word is he never leaves social media, just wasn't to it. Everybody, he knows what you're tweeting, what you wrote about this, what you said on this, what you tweeted. Everybody, he knows what's going on everywhere. So he just doesn't say anything. Now, this album is like a lot more dedicated to the home front that Made in Lagos was, even though the sound is still very exportable, and the people that are going to appreciate it more are going to be black people in the diaspora, especially in Europe and especially in the UK. That's what this album is. When Made in Lagos was, Wizkid was flowing like the Caribbean parts of the sound. Wizkid sang mostly in English on that album, mostly in English on Made in Lagos. A significant chunk of Made in Lagos was either in Patois or in English. There was a lot less Lagos and a lot less Nigeria in Made in Lagos. And that's why a lot of people criticized it for the title. Even though the title was more about him. Wizkid's titles are usually about him more than the music. Like, I think Sounds from the Other Side is the only one where Wizkid titled the album based on the sounds in the music and where the music was going. As a matter of fact, it was still about him because it was the one that was taking the sound from this side to that side. Superstar was about him. Ayo was his name. Soundman is him. Made in Lagos is him. More Love, Less Ego is him. Because there's nothing on this album that is More Love, Less Ego. It's probably the state of mind, Wizkid's state of mind. It's More Love. People might say it's More Love because it was addressing a lot of love. It was talking about like women, how to have sex with them. But not really. Not really. It's More Love, Less Ego. Possibly his own state of mind, where he is as a person. Because right now, there's no reason to be egotistical towards anyone. He's making money. He bought 6 cars in a day, bro. 6 cars, 6 exotic cars in a day. It has a lot more to do with him than the sounds on this album. That's the thing about this album. But the problem with the album was, while Wizkid, so before we get there, Made in Lagos was very exportable. It wasn't exactly made for us significantly. It was made to be exportable, right? And by that fact, it's the status of a lot of its songs in Nigeria. A lot of people are going to argue that a lot of the songs, except maybe Mood, were not hits. People are going to tell you that Ginger was not a hit. They will tell you that. Some people will tell you, they will argue it. And in Nigeria, the moment anybody can put a grain of sand in the status of the song being a hit, It's a problem because now you can convince people or you can put a grain of doubt in their mind. But with the deluxe version, it tried to come back home. Because now the guy that was popping on the home front, which was Buju, was featured on the deluxe. And Anoti was very, very, very Nigerian. There's nothing else about Anoti that wasn't Nigerian. The Steady itself, in a way, it's another exportable sound. But if you put it on a scale of, it's just 3 new songs that were on that thing. So it's 2 over 3 songs were very, very Nigerian. Now this album is a lot more Nigerian than Made in Lagos was. If you listen to the formation of it, like the song that dropped, did you hear anything like Iye Gege, Oh My Iye Gege on Made in Lagos? No. You did not. Opening song, and we now, which was a fantastic song by the way. It wasn't, Wizkid was singing in pure English, like a lot of Made in Lagos was pure English. Pure. Not a lot of Yoruba, not a lot of Pidgin. Pure English and sometimes Patois. A lot of Caribbean influences on that album. But this album, it's a lot of Lambert. The guy is speaking Yoruba.
Yeah.
He's speaking Yoruba. I think Skepta even spoke in Nigerian language on his verse. So it's a lot more Nigerian. And the aspects of this, it feels like it's trying to come back, or maybe it's trying to, now that I've been able to create a sound that has exported, okay, now let me give you things that I don't want to lose its own front. I'll make things that they can love, that can relate with them, and the things that you people over there can love. But the problem with this album is there are some cliches here and there. For example, we'll get into it a little bit later. A lot of these places where they added log drums, not necessarily, they were not needed a lot. And then it had production problems, it had track listing problems, and the biggest bane of this album is when you release an album that was as big as Made in Lagos and as successful as Made in Lagos, you are battling against the hill of expectation. So it's unlikely, except the only 2 Nigerian artists in the last 10 years have been able to create really successful albums and they release another album when nobody else will say this album is trash or average. Do you understand? Only Burna Boy and Olamide, in a way. Let's say the run between Olamide's debut, YBNL, Baddest Guy Ever Lived, like the albums were dropping fantastic albums, but nobody was complaining. Yeah. And then Burna Boy, like outside African Giants, Twice as Tall, but it's very unlikely here because now Wizkid, it's unlikely that anybody, even if the album is good, a lot of people, the fact that the album is not on the level or the same level as the other album, people are going to drop it down. It's just what it is. It's only time that can help people digest this album better. Now, is it as good as Made in Lagos? No, I don't think so. I think this album is a lot, even quality-wise, it's a lot more sounds on the other side than Made in Lagos, quality-wise. It's a polarizing album, very polarizing.
Okay. So topically, what did More Love Less You Go feel like?
Agro beats, bro.
Agro.
A lot of sex. I want to know the type of sex that guy has been having. That guy makes Ruga seem like a saint.
Yeah.
It was a lot of sex. The 2 singles that dropped, a lot of sex. Like, a lot of sex in the essence of the music, a lot of sex in the idea. The album is a toast to the good life.
Yeah.
That's what More Love Less You Go is. It's a toast to the good life. It's a toast, it's a reflection, it's possibly a reflection of his state of mind, because he has less worries right now. It's not like he's still hustling, but he's hustling from a place of comfort these days. If no American superstar will see Wizkid now won't stop by and say, let's take a picture. He's that big now. Do you understand? And that's why he's changing his name. Everywhere he goes, he's wearing pajamas. Do you understand? He's wearing and meals we get foam and feathers all over. Do you understand? That was in the way now. So the album is more a toast to that life. But there are some songs that are like exceptions here and there, but they are not as many. They are not as much. So
Exception to the good life.
Yeah, it's like. The album is only a few tracks here and there were like an exception to the good life. The ones that were not about sex were about women still, were about love still. A lot of people like to talk about Made in Lagos like he had a lot of horrible songwriting. It was, I don't know, a lot of people, I don't know when people like to manufacture things that I never said on social media, and I need that to stop. Stop lying on my head. My mother is a prayer warrior. I'm telling you. Do you understand? Stop lying, because there was never a place where I said Made in Lagos had horrible songwriting. I said the songwriting was still not great, but it was better than any bit of songwriting that Wizkid had ever done in his career, Made in Lagos. Because when you listen to it, Wizkid addressed a lot more things on Made in Lagos. And you can still go and read the review I wrote for it, right? The song, like the first song was like, it was talking about hate, his friends, that betrayal. It was talking about, like the song with MLLE, for example, it was talking about feeling blessed, how it's now about family oriented. Like it was a lot more expansive. But this one is just one track. It was one track mind. It's a pop album. It's tailored for pop success. Charting numbers while balancing the home front and the foreign front. But the problem is, a lot of people, the album is going to confuse a lot of people on the home front, maybe more than Made in Lagos did, because as much as they can see some of the things here and there, the songs are not hitting them as much as it should. So that's the problem here.
Oh. So now there's a conversation going on about how Wizkid music has peaked.
Yeah.
It has reached its plateau. Yeah. So what do you think about that?
I think that's fine. Every creative reaches their plateau at some point. Especially when you're an artist and you've been succeeding for at least 10 years. It's fine. I think it's expected for you to plateau at some point. But I wouldn't say he has actually plateaued. I think I would be surprised if this is not the last time that Wizkid will explore that sound. Do you understand? Like that mid-tempo-ish, very instrumental oriented type of music where they are balancing it out with horns. And on this album, on the last album, it was a lot of horns, it was a lot of violins, it was a lot of they played around with the saxophones a lot, but this one I heard a lot more trumpets, a lot more trombones. The drums on this album were more aggressive than that album. You understand? So you can see that there was a clear thought process about this album, that as more as there was a thought process about that album. Now, you could also see the fact that Wizkid was trying to relate more to what was happening here. There was a song where it was sounding like Rema. Do you understand? There was a song where it was sounding like Rema. Like there was a song, so it shows you that he pays attention. He's trying to. There's only a few people can be Kanye West. There's this limit to the change that superstars can undergo, except they are jumping on another person's sound. Every time that Kanye West or Jay-Z did it, they were jumping on another person's sound. What's this album? 808s and Outbreaks was Kid Cudi. My business that Suicide Francis was Kid Cudi and Kid Cudi and Sahai the Prince. Jesus was Travis Scott. Like it goes on. The last album was a bunch of young people. You just fine-tuned their sound and dropped it on them. Do you get Jay-Z? When his life really changed with Blueprint 1, it was Kanye West and No ID. Do you understand? I mean, Just Blaze, it was Kanye West and Just Blaze. It goes on every time that people have been able to evolve. Drake, when he truly broke the glass ceiling with views, it was a lot of Caribbean and Afrobeats. That's Party Next Door, bro. Take Care, that really won him the Grammy for Best Rap Album. It was a lot of The Weeknd. Do you get? So a lot of Nigerian artists, the only way, and I hope they really learn this, drop the ego and learn this, is find a way to jump on the next wave. Not jump on the next wave, but invite these people that are similar to your sound. I don't see a reason why Burna Boy and Odumodu Black are not working. I don't see it. It makes sense, doesn't it?
It does, sonically, perfect.
Exactly. I don't see it. I don't see the reason why it's not happening. That's the way for you to make music that's going to sound new, because now you are listening, you are in the studio working with someone that has fresh ideas. That's the only way. Now, Wizkid is working with Tay, but he already worked with Tay on Made in Lagos. Yeah. I think it's a little unfair. I'm going to say this. I think it's a little unfair that people expect a total 180 on this album. It's not going to happen. This album is different, but you have to be. What I've noticed about Nigerians is Nigerians don't know how. We discussed it on the pod recently. A lot of Nigerians are not. They don't know how to listen to music and pick out differences. What they hear is the style. A lot of people are not like you and I. They can't understand music to the detail. Things sound the same to them. That's why a lot of people are going to tell you that Ashake's album sound the same. It doesn't. They'll tell you that singles sound the same. They don't. You just can't get past the style. The beats are different. The sonics are different. The pace is different. It's the same thing on this album. This album is it's a little faster than Made in Lagos when you sum it up together. It's a little faster. Made in Lagos was kind of very R&B-ish. Not kind of, very R&B-ish. This one is a lot more pop. It's not like the ideas are there, they are just not striking. And that's because he has not gotten out of that phase. For him to get out of that phase, he will need to work with somebody that he can incorporate his style with, and that person will be able to give him something new. That's the only way. If it doesn't happen, it's not going to happen. But I don't think it's still fair for people to say he has part two. I don't think so. And the ideas are there. There are similarities, but the ideas are there.
That's a good one. So did Wizkid repeat any formula from Made in Lagos in More Love, Less Ego?
Absolutely. For example, one of the major reasons is because like PTJ also produced a chunk of this album.
Yeah.
We're going to get to a lot of the production later, conversation around production. I think part of the problem is the production on this album. The fact that a lot of the production had really good foundation, but the crowning moments were missing. I'll get to that a little later. For example, the chords on Wild are very similar to the chords on Ballon d'Or. Many people listen to you, if you are attentive enough, you can pick the similarities here and there. The tempo of some of the music of the songs can be very similar. The rollout is kind of similar as well. Postponement.
Yeah.
Made in Lagos was YouTube. This one is Apple Music. Yeah. Like the similarities are there. The king-making tendencies. Where he had who was on True Love again? Who was the other guy that was on True Love?
Is it T?
No, that was on True Love. The Caribbean guy. What's his name again? I can't remember his name.
No.
The other Caribbean guy that was on True Love now is the guy that was on Slip and Slide.
Yes, Skill.
Exactly. Who killed it, by the way?
I think Shensha did better, but Skill killed it too.
Bro, I agree. There's no argument. But that guy killed it. Then Thames before Nice Allstars. So there are a lot of similarities, but the differences are still there. It's the similarities you can't avoid them both stylistically, format-wise, detailing, but the similarities are there, which you can't avoid. If that was more R&B again, this one is more Lamba. If that was more reflective, Mid Lagos is reflective in parts. This one is just more, let's party, let's have sex, let's snack, maybe they go. So those are some of the similarities and differences.
So now this album, More Love, Less Ego, what does it say about Wizkid himself?
It shows that Wizkid is headed into his legendary status is sealed, but it's headed into that OG status now. And when you're headed into that OG status, it's very hard for you to. You can define the sound, you can influence the sound, but the sound that people that really define the sound are people that are coming from under, and that's fine because. Like you can see everybody just repeating templates. What about repeated templates on Love Damini as well? Like pointed that out on the review. With Wizkid, once again, the album shows that he's attentive because again, and he knows what needs to be done. Another conversation is him doing it properly or executing it properly, where he shows that he has the ideas. Does he have the sound? Does he have the appropriate sound? And does he have the appropriate production on the album to actually execute that? Does he have the appropriate fine-tuning to bring the best work out? That's another question entirely. But what this album says about Wizkid himself is that he's attentive. He's headed into his twilight years as an artist. The fact that he wants to be a kingmaker now. Yeah, he did it with Thames. Now he wants to be an Allstar. Even though I'm not sure that song is going to do it. I'll be very surprised if it does. I'm not sure about that song. A lot of people are saying they like it. I mean, let's see. Personally, I can't put my money on it. If it happens, I'll be very happy for them. But I'm not. I mean, after Made in Lagos dropped, I said it on this episode of Facts Only that Made in Lagos is one of the best Nigerian songs that dropped in 2020. Essence. I said, Essence was one of the best Nigerian songs that dropped in 2020. And look at what they did. But this one, I am not entirely sure. But what the difference between all albums these days is, if they put a lot of marketing budget behind it, and if it does enough, they are going to put a lot of marketing budget. They will plug it, and you never know. So let's see. But I wouldn't be sure about plugging that song. I wouldn't be so sure. So the king make attendances, and he's at peace, man, and he's happy. He's happy. He's very happy. I can see that he's very happy.
So now, let's go to the title, More Love, Less Ego.
Yeah.
So now, do you think Wizkid know how to craft albums around titles and content?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think, artists are narcissists. Artists are narcissists. I think he crafts album titles around himself more than concepts as relates to the album. Do you understand? I remember one thing that AOT said. Shout out to AOT. AOT said, Wizkid's first album should have been made in Lagos. Superstar should have been made in Lagos. And made in Lagos should have been titled Superstar. And it makes so much sense. Do you get?
Yeah.
The first album was actually made in Lagos.
Yeah.
This other one was Superstar. I don't think he really understands it. I don't think he gets it yet. And I'm not sure, and that's fine. I don't think it's a slight on him as much. I really don't think it's a slight on him. I think people, as long as he doesn't confuse people in his interviews, do you understand? Like, set the wrong message. For example, I believe that in certain interviews before Made in Lagos, he was saying that, the album is like Made in Lagos. So people were expecting like Lagos on the album, and there was no Lagos. So he needs to stop confusing people. So if you have to be sure about where your album title is coming from, then you can appropriately communicate it. This album, for example, and the More Love, Less Ego is not there as much. Maybe loving women, yes,
yeah,
but it's not like loving people, loving human beings, loving life. I mean, you are loving life, but you didn't say it explicitly.
It's from an holistic point of view.
Exactly, there was no holistic point of view on the album, so it's very difficult to say that. I think that's it, to be honest. Yeah.
So to the production.
Yeah.
So what's your take on the production on this album?
I don't think the production is as great as Made in Lagos was. The production of Made in Lagos, no, I don't think so.
Oh.
I don't think the production of this album is great. Like I said, I think great foundations. I think the best thing about this album is they found great foundations. But for the sonically pleasing Nigerian sounds that Wizkid wanted to find, I felt like he needed someone else to crown some of the works that some of these producers did. Do you understand? You know how Drake produces an album, different producers will produce for Drake, and then they will go and give it to 40. And 40 will perfect a lot of those songs. Do you know? Like, that's how it works. Or Kanye works with a lot of producers. Do you understand? And then he himself crowns a lot because he knows what he wants to hear.
Yeah.
Do you understand? So right now, the biggest problem with this album is the beats on the album are a little abstract. A lot of the beats are a little abstract. They didn't have, when you are listening to a beat, I used to mess with production at some point, so I think a lot of producers might be able to understand what I'm saying. It had enough to grab your attention, but it didn't have enough to satisfy you. Do you understand? Like, especially the opening tracks, aside from like More Love, Less Ego, and that's why even Bad to Me is very polarizing. That's why Money and Love. Even though I love Money and Love, I can understand why you or someone else doesn't like it. I love Money and Love. That's why Bad to Me is also very polarizing. A lot of people like it. Me, I can't stand it. Do you understand? Because it has enough to grab my attention, but it doesn't have enough. The zenith was not there where the song just goes through the roof and everything just changes. It lacked a lot of those moments. Now, there were parts of the album that had that. Sleep and Slide, for example, was perfect. It was one of the few perfect moments on the album. Frames was perfect.
Yeah,
it was one of the very few moments out. That's another thing that I was saying to someone 2 days ago. I feel like it would have been nice if Prime walked across the album more.
Very sure.
Do you understand? Walked across the album. P2J did well, but walked across the album as like the guy that was fine-tuning a lot of those sounds more. Do you get? Fine-tuning them, adding the zenith to a lot of those songs. Helping those beats get to their highest potential. I feel like that's the big. Not that I feel like that's actually the biggest problem with this album. Is the fact that the production. A lot of people are going to accept this as it's not whack. People need to be smart enough to understand that if something is not great, it doesn't mean it's whack. It's on its way. Just someone you know how you are hitting a nail, like a concrete nail into a wall. You are hitting it, right? You want it to get inside the wall. But you go to a point where the nail is now like 80% or 70% into the wall, but you need extra effort to hit it in because there's so much steel in that wall. So now you need someone that can help you hit it properly so that it can enter without bending. That's what this album needed.
How does the track list of this album affect the album?
So track listing is I wrote an article about track listing 2 years ago, and people need to understand that track listing is one of the most important parts of album making. It can make or mad an album should be an experience. Do you get? And these days, we were talking to Rotimi on the podcast recently, and Rotimi said something like, "There's so much music these days. It's very hard to experience one album for too long, right?" So, and a lot of it is because of access. People can access music these days. Yes, I can get any album that I want at this point in the world. I can get any, or maybe I can get 80% or 85% of the albums that I want to listen to. I know where to get them. And that's why I'm subscribed to all of the streaming platforms. Do you get? So, track listing is so important that this generation, we are knee-jerkers, we are digital natives. And we are such knee-jerkers to the extent that, and we are not aware of it, we judge album by the earliest perception.
Yeah.
The earliest perception. That's why it's very important for an album to hit it. Hit it.
Why?
It's very, very important. The moment the track one, and it was a mistake. So just singles to the album were very polarizing. Forget how it got to number 1 on Apple Music. Forget it in this conversation. The reception to those songs were very polarizing.
Yeah.
Even though I love Money and Love, I listen to Money and Love at least 10 times every day. But I know that it was polarizing. And I know the reason why it was polarizing. Do you get? Those 2 songs should not be in the opening sequence. They're already polarizing. You don't need more polarizing reception. As a matter of fact, a lot of people don't like Money and Love. I love it, but a lot of people don't like it. Why are you making it the opening track? All the people, most of you, your music, your listenership is bigger than your core fan base. Your core fan base is going to, when they listen to 1 second, they call it the greatest thing anyway. But they are not exactly the ones that determine the success of the song or the perception of an album. They are not. They are not the only ones that determine the perception of your album. They can try. But people are going to have their perception anyway because your listenership is bigger than your fan base. So what I'm saying in essence here is the opening sequence of that song, it was possibly the sequence of the weakest songs on the album. Let's not lie. It was possibly the weakest sequence in the album. You don't open an album like that. And a lot of people, to a lot of knee-jerkers that form the listenership of Wizkid, the opinion has been formed. The cynicism has already been built. Most of what they are going to listen to in the opening sequence is not going to be exciting. The emotion they are going to, there's not going to be a lot of excitement. It's going to be a lot of cynicism. And it's even possible that one of the reasons why all of us are saying the Allstars song is not exactly as strong as maybe at Essence is because where it was on the album. By the time the album actually got to Slip and Slide, till the end, it was actually a good listen. From Slip and Slide, bro, there was a 4-track sequence between Slip and Slide, and I think, wow, it was the best spell on that album. But a lot of people are not going to get it. Because what they are going to, when human nature, once cynicism is built, right, it's difficult to appreciate the rest of the movie. It's like in a movie that opens with unnecessarily long sequences, where there's no action, there's no conversation, 15 minutes of just rubbish. There is no way you are going to be able to sit down. A lot of people will not even complete the movie. Because I'm like, why am I here for 20-25 minutes where there's not a lot of conversation, where it's just 2 people dancing and singing? What are we doing here? Do you understand? It's important that something opens like that. In a lot of cases, great albums that have, mid-albums that have great opening sequences or great track listing, it can aid you, it can aid the perception of the album. But some great albums have very worrying sequences and album sequences, and people are being sequences. It happens with Apollo. Fireboy. It happened with Apollo. Apollo is, I I would get on the hill that Apollo is a better album than Last Test and Lush. So even though LTG is the classic, I would get on that hill conveniently. Because the songwriting on that album is ridiculous. But a lot of people are going to argue that it's LTG that is better because number one, they enjoyed LTG better. And the track listing of Apollo wasn't that great. Especially the opening sequence. By the time the album got to like track 6, till the end, it's a madness. So the track listing of this album was a problem. It was a real problem. Like, Slip and Slide was at track 5 or track 6? Track 6. From track 6 to the end. I mean, there were some misses here and there, but it was a much more better experience than the opening 5 tracks. It was a much better experience.
Yeah. So, what do you think of the timing of the release of the album?
I think the timing is perfect. A lot of people, I don't know why a lot of people run. So, you know how people run away from things and then it actually opens up? Like everybody runs away from releasing things at the end of the year.
Yeah.
But because everybody runs away from it, it's now become a perfect time to release albums.
The window.
Exactly. I think the timing is perfect.
Okay.
And I think a lot of people need to actually look into that more.
Okay.
A lot of people are now running to the start of the year because they think people are not releasing at the start of the year. But the start of the year is going to be very populated.
I think that used to be P Square's modus operandi before they stopped.
But now everybody.
Yeah, so Wizkid now.
Yeah.
This album came just quick after Made in Lagos.
Yeah.
So why do you think Wizkid is coming back this early?
Form, confidence. Wizkid has never done an album like this close, 2 years. What? It's never happened before. I think his form, his confidence, possibly I think I said it the last time I was talking about Wizkid here. Yeah. Possibly, maybe he's trying to just exit the contract because now his stock is very high.
Yeah.
If Wizkid negotiates a new album, a new record deal right now, my brother, it's going to be heavy.
National budget.
Bruh, it's going to be very heavy. So it makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Okay, now so to the tracks on the album, what do you think are the exceptional tracks on the album?
I like Money and Love. Obviously.
That's been an all-time favorite.
Slip and Slide. The 4-track sequence that starts with Slip and Slide. Beautiful. Frames. The record with Don Toliver, I don't particularly hate it. But I feel like it was a
special. Special.
Yeah.
That's what we saw.
Yeah, special. I feel like it was a. I feel like it was another True Love in a different essence. Produced by Jules, very different to the sound of the entire album. High Life, R&B somewhere. Yeah. You understand? Putting Don Toliver on it for the numbers. And I think it was actually not bad. It was good A&R to put Don Toliver on the High Life song. It wasn't bad. It wasn't bad at all. Frames, I feel like Frames is one that people like. People like Frames a lot. I like Deep, bro. So I think it was Slip and Slide, Deep, Flower Pads, and Wow. Ooh. You don't like Wow?
No, I prefer Pressure. That's my favorite.
Not sure about Pressure though. I mean, to be honest, again, from Slip and Slide to the end, a lot of gems. Opening 5 tracks. I think these are some of the really good tracks on the album, to be honest. Yeah,
I agree. Yeah, I haven't looked at the album. What do you think? What are some of the things you think Wizkid could have corrected on this album?
Like I said, the production, the track listing. I felt like Deep needed a feature. Maybe Flower Pads as well.
So if you go put an artist on both,
on Flower Pads, Burna Boy. After the back and forth before album, I don't think that thing was real. I think it was cooked.
What about Deep?
Deep. That's a good question. I've not thought about it actually, but Burna Boy stuck out on Flower Pads for me immediately. Burna Boy on Flower Pads. I think Burna Boy on Flower Pads would have changed. I think it could have been the essence of this album. Burna Boy was on it. That's what I think. I genuinely think that.
And probably a better song than Ginger.
Yeah, exactly. Probably a better song than Ginger.
So this album, do you think if it has a couple of big hits, do you think it will change the perception of the album?
That has a tendency to happen, especially when people market things properly. But again, reception from like the public is different from critical acclaim. I don't think critical acclaim on this album is ever going to change because the elements are just there. Public perception, it's a lot of gullible people, so you can never put anything past them. So I can understand why they are going to say, oh my God, it has a Billboard 800 hits.
Yeah, how can it not
be a great album?
Yes, it has no bass. How can it not be a good album? People are listening
They're not
to
smart. But this is not the podcast, this is not the episode to address such things. Because the success of Billboard presence of a song has more to do with its marketing budget and its plugin budget than quality. A lot of songs that are not that are not remotely songs that a lot of people like are getting to the top of the Billboard charts, whereas a lot of really good songs are not making it. So it depends. What the money that anybody's putting behind you. That's what's going to determine it. Finally, I just think if I was going to grade this album, probably the max that I'm going to give this album is like a 6.5, 6.3 over 10.
I think I'm more generous then.
I don't think it's more than that. What did you give it?
7.7.
Oof, no. Probably going to give it 6.3, 6.4. Max 6.5 over 10, if I think about it carefully. And that 6.5 is like a B. It's not bad. Yeah. So I think Wizkid I think everybody should be fine with that. And that's facts only.